moment. And we're live. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, LinkedIn. This is Marion Spears Carr, and you're watching a special episode of the Healthcare Leadership Show, normally at 12:30 Eastern Time. But today, we're online and live at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We want to see who's watching live. And also, if you watch the replay, and the replay will be available on LinkedIn from now on, please let us know in the comments. Today is a special conversation for me because, one, I get to talk about gratitude, which has been such a key part of focus to the work that I'm doing from a leadership perspective and frankly, my personal walk. And I'm super excited to have my guest today to talk about the physician leader superpower and how gratitude is such. My guest is Dr. Hesham Hasabala. He's a New York Times featured pulmonary and critical care physician. He's an author of a book called How Not to Kill Your Patient in the ICU. I love that title. How Not to Kill Someone in the ICU, a practical guide for a successful rotation or career in the intensive care unit. And Dr. Hasabala, we might get into a conversation about that as well. He is a medical director, regional medical director for Sound Physicians, and he's a podcaster. But more importantly, he walks his faith, and he's become a good friend of mine. Dr. Hasabala, welcome to the show. Please introduce yourself better than I do, and better than I did. Glad to have you, man. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be on the show. Thank you. Yes, you are a dear friend as well. We connected almost immediately after we kind of spoke on the phone and then met in person in Chicago. So it's really awesome to be here. I'm a physician leader with a passion for excellence who builds critical care programs from the ground up. And I also am an author, I'm a podcaster, father, a husband, and I'm just trying to live a life of gratitude because being a doctor has been the life dream of mine. It's the only thing I've ever wanted to be, and I try as best I can to do as good of a job as I can in gratitude for being given the gift of being an agent of healing.
Dr. Hasabala, one of the things that you and I got into a conversation around is hopefully in some opportunity for us to work together. For those of you, and by the way, for those of you who are watching the Healthcare Leadership Show for the very first time, you may not know who I am. I'm Marion Spears Carr. I'm an entrepreneur as well. Host of this LinkedIn Live show, been in the executive search and leadership development space in healthcare for a very long time, probably longer than I can remember. If you don't recognize the accent, I'm a native of North Carolina. I live now in the mountains of Georgia, and just over the last few years have been working on a training program for healthcare leaders called the Authentic Gratitude Communication Framework. That's a neuroscience-based focus on gratitude as a leadership skill set and making a difference. And Dr. Hasabala, and you and I got into a conversation around this. And one of the things you shared with me was your heart for gratitude. First, I want to shout out to some people watching live. And if you're watching live, please let us know in the comments, because this is how we reach the people in the audience. This is how we connect with you. This is how we know you're there and that we're bringing information to you. And you'll have a chance later to ask questions. Marlene Seiden checking in from Roswell, Georgia. Kelly Frazier Johnson checking in from Madison, Georgia. She's a North Carolina person too, by the way. Leon Daly, got to meet Leon. He is filled with gratitude. He's got to meet him at the VCU MHA program not too long ago. Carol Schmeckel's checking in from Kansas City. Hey, Carol, how good to see you. Beth Saxon Phillips is checking in from Brookhaven, Georgia. Felipe, my great friend who I just was on his show last night, is checking in from Maryland, right outside of Washington, D.C. And glad to have you. Dr. Hasabala, you and I started talking about the gratitude, and you said, this is my superpower. And you're an intensivist. You work with incredibly sick patients. I'd love for you to just kind of take us back to how you realized that at the heart of your work was this, you being thankful, and how that's made a difference in how you treat patients, how you connect with your colleagues. talk a little bit about that, and we'll jump into this conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you. So, I mean, I think, the adage, to those who have been given much, much is expected, or, if you've been blessed with a lot, then you are expected to give back. And I think that's really at the heart of what gratitude is. Like I was saying, there are people who sarcastically say, "Oh, I'm living the dream,"
Yeah.
but I am living my dream. I really am. I mean, ever since I was a kid, I've only ever wanted to be a doctor. And
Mm-hmm.
I've strayed from the path here and there, thought about, oh, it's too long, but every time I would deviate from my path, God would put someone in my path to keep me going. And I knew I was, and by the grace of the Lord, I was able to have a career in medicine. And I think
Mm-hmm.
I'm just so grateful to be a doctor, with all the difficulty that it comes with. We were just talking about it, me and a colleague yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much in the field that pulls us in so many different directions, so much demands on our attention and time, that it's easy to lose sight of the purpose of
Mm-hmm.
healthcare, which is healing the patient, making the patient feel better. And we just have to keep reminding ourselves why we're in it. Like sometimes, like, oh my God, no one called me about this patient, and now I have to take care of them, and I have no sign
Yeah.
out, or, oh, no one, how come I wasn't given this or that? And then you just lose. Oh, I can't believe I have to take care of this patient. They don't belong in the ICU. That's a
Mm-hmm.
frequent. That's a frequent argument we'll have with other colleagues. This patient doesn't belong in the ICU.
Mm-hmm.
And while, yes, we have to be stewards of a limited resource, we also have to keep reminding ourselves, and I try to keep reminding myself the point. Just
Mm-hmm.
take care of the patient. Just take care of the patient, man. And just take care of the patient. Do what you need to do to make them feel better. And so, as a physician, it's a constant battle to try, because there's so much on the physician, to try to remind myself why I'm here, and then try to live in the moment of gratitude, because I am really living my dream every single day. As a leader, there's so many people that are doing the good work. Like, as a leader, you can't do it all yourself. There's so many people doing the good work, and you can't. y- I think we make a big mistake if we neglect to thank those who are doing the work every single day to help
Mm-hmm.
the team succeed. And so if I email my team, I'm always thanking them at the end of my email. At the end of any call, I almost always try to remember to thank them for all the hard work that they're doing, because
Mm-hmm.
they're doing tough, hard work, and they're each contributing to the success of the team. And so it's just so important for the leader to acknowledge it. And when I'm thanked by my leaders, it feels
Yeah.
great. I love it's great to be acknowledged and thanked by your leaders. So that's the least I could do to the people that I work with.
Yeah, when you and I are together just recently in Chicago having a cup of coffee, and by the way, for those of you, if you want to send Dr. Hasabala or me any kind of gift or bribe, send us coffee. Not bribe. I'm joking about the
Abs-
bribe part, but send us coffee.
co-
We're both
Coffee.
lovers of coffee. Send us coffee. Checking in, Leslie Kincaid from Springfield, Missouri. Got to meet Leslie several years ago when I did a training program with Mercy Health's physician recruiting group, and she's actually very, very sharp and strong out in the marketplace. Peter Paxos is checking in. I'm not sure where Peter is, but Peter's good to see you in the chat. Let us know where you're checking in from. Dr. Husband, one of the things you and I talked about was what some of the stories of things that you went through during COVID, particularly, but just times where you've learned. And I do want to talk about your book in a moment, because I think there's a gratitude component throughout that as well. But physician burnout was so prevalent during the COVID era, because what you had to deal with was incredible. And phys- compassion fatigue became a common theme around discussions out there. From your perspective, and I didn't preload this question, but it hit me this morning when I was thinking about our conversation today. How did you use your focus from being thankful for what you do and thankful for the skills that God has given you? Because you've gone through a journey, and I'd love for you to tell us about that journey, because you wanted to be a physician and you did everything you could to get there. Here's the question though. How can leaders, both clinical leaders and non-clinical leaders, when they start to feel that compassion fatigue, when they start to feel stress, like you were just talking about, like that patient doesn't belong here, or now I have to deal with some budget issue or whatever it is, how can they recenter their focus on gratitude? How do you do that? How do you bring yourself back? You kind of hit on it in a minute, but I'd love for you to kind of walk us through your thought process, because that was, you and I talked about that in Chicago, and I thought that was very insightful.
Yeah, thank you. So a little bit, back up a little bit. So on the 7th of June, on this past Sunday, my eldest daughter passed away 17 years ago from cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So the year after she died, and I'm sorry, shameless plug, on my podcast this week is an episode, kind of a tribute to her, talked about the soundtrack of my grief, where I talk about songs that have helped me deal with her grief. So that's this week. I'm sorry, I couldn't help it.
Oh, that's not a shameless plug, man. That's what we're here for. And for those of you watching, I'll put the link to his podcast in the comments after the show, and you can go back and find that link.
Thank you.
So I didn't mean to. No, don't worry about shameless plug.
No. So then the year after the year she passed was June. The year she passed, my cousin ran the Chicago Marathon in her honor. Wow. And I watched him finish the race, and I was inspired to do the same the following year.
Okay.
So the following year, because she could never walk, at the end of her life, she couldn't walk. She was wheelchair bound. So I wanted to do something that she couldn't do in her honor after the year after she died. And so I trained and did everything. When we started the race, it was months of training. I got injured, and but there was nothing. I had to finish that race for her that year. So as we started, my cousin told me, take it all in, man. Like, all the culmination of all the training to that day, we're running under the Grand Avenue Bridge in Chicago, for those of you who are familiar, right at the end of Grant Park, to start the race. And just to start there. So we're going under the Grand Avenue Bridge, and he told me, take it all in. And I've always tried to remember that, just to step back and take it all in, and to kind of see where you are. Like, situational awareness is something that I keep trying to work on as a leader, situational awareness. And so I think it's important for leaders to take it all in. Look, I'm irritated that I have to take this patient that I don't think belongs in the ICU. I'm taking up a bed that would be better served someone else. And at the same time, I have to remind myself to stop and take it all in. I'm a physician. I have skills that few other people have. And I'm taking care of the sickest of the sick. Again, a skill set that few other people have. And I'm helping people feel better and try to heal them. And when I stop and take it all in, and I'm like, all right. I mean, I'm so happy to be here, because, like, I remember when I was applying to med school, I would drive by the school, and I just, from the depth of my heart, I was praying to get in. And I had a lot of odds against me the year that I applied to school. I mean, my advisor in college told me flat out, you're not going to get in. And she almost discouraged me to apply. And I was going to listen to her advice until, again, the Lord put my friend, I swear to God, he just happened to come and walk with me back to our dorm. I was an RA, and he was a co-RA. He was already he had gotten accepted to med school. He saw I was dejected. He asked what happened, and I told him the story that the advisor said, don't even apply. Don't even bother. You're not going to get in. And he's like, don't listen, and he used an expletive. He said, you will get in. And then I'm like, you're right. What do I have to lose? And the rest is history. So, like, I just try to remind myself of those moments and step back and take it all in, just like I was starting the marathon. And yeah, it was really hard. It was very hot that day. It was October 10th, 2010, 10. It was a
Mm.
fantastic date. It was
Yeah.
super hot that it was super hot that day. People were dropping
Yeah.
down. People were getting hurt, and still I'm like, okay, this is what I've been training for the last 5 months. And that's the same thing in medicine every single day, that try to take it all in as best I can. I'm not going to always do a good job. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to fail. And I just have to keep reminding myself. I just have to keep reminding myself all the time.
Yeah. That's how we have to stay grounded in gratitude. That to me, that's the work we've been doing with leadership teams and with leaders and individuals is being grounded in why you're doing what you're doing to begin with. And I think that it brings it back around. A quick shout out to, and by the way, thank y'all for watching live, and love to hear your comments in the comments, and let us know that you're there. My new connection, new is Kenneth Donner, is checked in from Sugar Land, Texas. I happen to know where Sugar Land is because I work in Texas a lot. That's right outside of southwest of Houston. Peter Paxos shared with us that he is in New York City. Peter, thank you. I knew you were in my network, and I knew you were up in New York, but I wasn't sure exactly where. So thank you for being there.
Sorry about the Knicks last night, boss.
Yes, yeah. So, oh well, Knicks in 5. That's what it's going to be. Knicks in 5.
Okay.
I don't know. I have no idea. My team's
I
been
have
out
no
for a
idea.
while. We're worried about it right now. We're focused on the Stanley Cup, and Carolina's got to get their act together. Leanne Stock is checking in from Minnesota. Thank you. And Kenneth invited in. Dr. Hasbullah, one of the things that you and I have been talking about, I was telling you about the work that we were doing around gratitude. One of the things that you do really, really well and is when you communicate people, here's the thing I like. There's a lot of things I like about you. You're my friend, but here's the 2 things that stand out. When you are in a conversation with someone, and I've noticed it not just with me, but just how you, like your podcast, but also just how you communicate, you really lock in on what that person's saying. You really pay attention. And like when we were, obviously in Chicago this last time, you make eye contact so well, and that's so valuable. And I think that's a lost art when we think about gratitude as a superpower for your physician. Your patients are almost always unconscious, right? They're not able to communicate necessarily. They're on ventilators, they're highly sick, etc. What are some of the things you do to communicate and letting them know that you're there, and how you? I'm curious, as an intensivist like you are, critical care ICU doctor, and a leader of those type of physicians, what are some of the things you do to stay connected communication wise with not just the patient, but the patient's family, your team? Talk a little bit about that, because I think there's a foundation of gratitude in that as well, and how you communicate. And I've observed that, and I would love for you to talk a little bit about that for our audience.
No, absolutely. And I think, thank you for that. And I must, admit that I need to be better with my family. If I'm on my phone and my kids say, Dad, 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 I have to be better. My wife, I have to be better. So I'm working on that. And they've, so I definitely acknowledge that. At the same time, there's been research that has shown that it is possible that people who we deem to be comatose are actually aware. When you do specialized brain scans, that they can actually tell that when you say, think of a tennis court or think of a tennis ball, the areas of the brain will light up. So there may be, so it's called cognitive motor dissociation. So they may, who we think are comatose may actually be more aware than we think they are. And so ever since I learned that research, I've made it a point just to walk in and say, hi, I'm Dr. Hasabala. I'm taking care of you today, just to make that connection. If the patient is awake, I try to look in their eyes and smile. I think a smile is an act of charity. It's something that's free, that you can give to people, and it's a connection between another person. And you'd be surprised how many people don't smile. but the smile, when you are able to smile at someone else, to smile at a patient, and
Mhm.
maybe hold their hand, and tell them I'm here and I'm gonna try to take care of you. I'm gonna try to do whatever I can to make you feel better. That connection is was much more lasting than all the information. And when I talked to Gil Bash about his book, Healing the Sick Care System, and the fact that we keep losing sight of the patient, of why we're there, to try to make them feel better. And that, when you look at like satisfaction surveys and things like that, it's the feeling that
Mhm.
makes a huge difference, much more than maybe the medicine or the facts or the things. It's the feeling that you made people feel. So I think we keep losing sight of that because of the
Mhm.
technology and AI and all those things. But that human connection, we can't ever lose sight of that. And that's what I think is going to differentiate me and make me AI proof, is that I can walk into a room, hold the patient's hand, and tell them, I'm going to do everything I can to help you feel better, and look at them and smile. So I
I
try to do that.
love it.
I try to do that in my career. I should do that more with my family. I fully admit it.
Yeah,
And at
we
the
do the
same
same thing.
yeah, yeah. At the same time, I think that's what's super important, is that human connection is what is, just to make people feel better and just to smile. If it's
Yep.
if I'm going to the airport, and I smile at the agent and say thank you and look at their eyes and smile. That those kind of connections make a huge difference, and we can't lose. We have to do more of that.
Yeah, there's a study we've been talking about eye contact and the leadership work that we've been doing, and one of the things that we've been reading about is all the studies around eye contact and smiling, which you just talked about. And one of the things that was a shocking statistic, it made sense, but it was a shocking statistic that children 11 to 17, current generation 11 to 17, will experience 47% less eye contact in their lifetime than you and I have. And
Wow.
there's a whole lot of reasons. Yeah, 47%. Think about that. That's the amount of change, and it's from screen time and looking at our phones and all those different things. And I think one of the things we're looking at is really around, well, how does the brain react when we hear our name? You and I talked about that. We're going to talk about that
Yes.
in a minute. What happens
Yes.
to the brain when you hear your name? First, I want to let some people give us some more shout outs. Kenneth Dunner, we mentioned earlier, checking in. He invited a bunch of people. Kenneth, thank you for doing that. Um, William Rochelle checking in from South Florida. Glad to have you. And if you have comments or questions, put them in the chat. We'll bring them up. Marlene Siden in Georgia, I'm going to bring her comment up to the screen. You can see this. Patients on ventilators hear more than we know, which is the point that you made. And she's just reiterating the fact that it's so important to speak encouraging words when you're in the room and outside their door. From someone who,
Absolutely.
from someone who, because of my accident when I was 18, spent a few days in one of those. I can't remember if I heard anybody, but I would hope that they were speaking positive things over me while I was battling that situation. So, Dr. Hospital, let's talk about some things from working with your team. Let's go to that for a minute, because and we're going to be up against the hour here very quickly, or the half hour very quickly. But one of the things you and I also talked about was knowing people's names, which I mentioned
Yeah.
earlier. And for those of you who are not familiar with my work, I've been creating a training program around gratitude that has a neuroscience base. And one of the amazing things that we learned is when we hear our name, it lights up super different parts of our brain. But one of the areas of the brain that it fully engages when we hear our name is called the cuneus, which is in the occipital lobe, which also controls eyesight. Like, so when we use people's names, they see themselves and they're more, basically that's the assumption. Talk about how, as a physician leader, and you work, like, you're in Philadelphia right now, but you cover a wide area for your company.
Hmm.
What are some of the things that you do in terms of communicating with people using their name? Because I think there's a gratitude component to that. I believe that, obviously. And you and I that was one of the things we talked about in Chicago the most. What are your thoughts on why it's so important for people when we communicate, is to know the person that we're talking to and learn their names?
Yeah. Well, I think your name is given to you. It's a gift. People's names mean things. Like my name, which those who know me close dispute would dispute this fact, but my name means generous. And
Okay.
those
Gotcha.
who knew me growing up and maybe know me now may dispute that name or whatever. But every name has a meaning. I mean, our kids, every single one of them, even my eldest who passed away, her name meant articulation.
Got it.
My now oldest child, her name means grace. So every single name means something. And
Hmm.
when you told me about that research, and I was just fascinated by it, and I also, kind of, you gave me the references and I looked into it,
Yeah.
and now I started saying, thank you, Marion, for all your hard work. Thank you for what I mean, your training program. I'm going to get you on my podcast so we can talk about it in more detail.
Yeah.
But like, folks, it's amazing when you tell someone, when they tell you your name. Hi, this is Spirit. This is
Yeah. Yeah.
Spencer. I'm
Yeah.
here to help you, and I tell you, thank you, Spencer. Like a lot of, because as a teleintensivist, I'm a lot of times on the phone with IT specialists
Yep.
because my password keeps expiring because I can't keep up. I can't keep up with it. So
Gotcha.
and then no one tells you that the password's expired.
Then
No
it's
one
gone.
says anything. So yeah, so then I don't know, and so I'm trying to log in, and that's one of the stressors of being a teleintensivist is that you have a patient who's not doing well, and you're trying to get into the record, and the password's expired. But when they tell you, "Hi, I'm John," and they help you and they get you in, and I just say, learning the lessons from your work, thank you, John, so much. I really appreciate that. I can't see them, but you can tell that they appreciate it in person. When I see their
Yeah.
name and I say, thank you, Beverly, for your wonderful service today, or thank you, Jonathan, or whatever it is,
Yeah.
their reaction is way different. And same with family or people. So it's something
Yeah.
that it's a lost art that we really, really
Yeah.
have to get back to. And it's just amazing how people react when you thank them by name, because that means that something I learned working in the South. Shout out
Yeah.
to all my Southern brothers and sisters.
That's
Something
me.
I learned. Yep, yep, yep. Something I learned working in the South in Tennessee is that people would tell me, "I appreciate you," not "I
Yeah.
appreciate it." And I started doing that. I started saying, when I came back to the
Yeah.
Midwest, I started saying, "I appreciate you,"
Yeah.
and then I say whatever it is they did. Not "I appreciate it."
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
people respond so much better when you say, "I appreciate you." And now I almost never say "I appreciate it." I say "I appreciate you,"
That's so
and
powerful.
I thank them for what they.
Yeah.
I thank you for looking it up. I appreciate you. There's a huge difference, because then I appreciate them as a person. This is something this is how we can fight the forces of division in our
Hmm.
country that capitalize on us hating each other. This is how we can overcome that, by remembering that we're all one family,
Hmm.
and that we appreciate each other for being who we are.
There's a drop right there that we need to just shout to the back of the room, because I totally agree with that. I think we're missing out on that very thing. I noticed Lisa Fevik has joined us. I don't know where you're checking in, but Lisa, glad to have you. Kenneth let us know that his name means handsome. He's a good looking man, so apparently it works. So that's good. If anyone in the audience, we only have about one more minute. If you have a question for Dr. Hasabala, I'd love for you to drop it in the chat real quickly. Sorry I didn't get to the question. Your book, just briefly touch on your book real quick, and then how they can connect with you. Your book's called "How Not to Kill Someone in the ICU: A Practical Guide for a Successful Rotation, a Career in the Intensive Care Unit." Give us just 20 seconds on that, and again, we'll put that link in the chat after the show. And then any final words, Dr. Hasabal? Really glad to have you on the show, and I do consider you a brother now, and I mean that. And so thank you for taking the time to join me today. Quick
Absolutely.
comment on your book, and then we'll be wrapping up.
So when I would teach residents and fellows, I would have a top 10 list of rules in the ICU that I would go over, and
Mhm.
so I turned that top 10 list into a book, a little bit more detail about all the things. My top 5 rules are: don't panic, don't panic, don't panic, don't panic, don't panic. Those are my top
Got it.
5 rules. And then I have a whole bunch of others, and I just kind of filled it in with stories that I've had working in the ICU, lessons that I've learned about mistakes I've made, not necessarily with
Mhm.
patients, but just
Yep.
kind of the lessons I've learned about where I should have done, not patient care mistakes, but just mistakes as a human being. And I learned those lessons, and I teach, those are lessons that I take to heart, and I want to teach others. So that's how the book was born. And I've been people find it helpful, so it's just what I feel, things that I learned in the ICU that I want to share with others.
What a great way to wrap up. How can people connect with you, Dr. Hasbala?
So I'm on LinkedIn, Hesham Hasabala MD. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on X, HA Hasabala MD. My podcast is at drhasabala.com. Feel free to sign up and get the episodes delivered to your inbox. I'm on Apple, Spotify. That's called the Healthcare Musings Podcast. And happy to connect with everybody. And it's truly been an honor. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. It's
Yeah,
truly
we
been an
have.
honor, and I can't wait to get you on my podcast as well.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Thank you all for watching the show today. This is the Healthcare Leadership Show with Marion Pierce Carr. That's me. For those of you who don't know about my work, I'm an executive recruiter and entrepreneur in the leadership space, and have spent a lot of years working on 2 leadership programs. One called the Authentic Gratitude Communication Framework, and the other one called the Accomplishment Culture. And we work with organizations all across the country. But more importantly, what we're here to do is exactly what Dr. Hasbala is. I'm not a physician, but we're here to make people better, and hopefully they learn something from this. So if you like the show, please, and you're not a first level connection with me, please send me a connect request. Ken, thank you for sharing it to a bunch of people. Marlene, thanks for the shout out. Dr. Hasbala, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for sharing your heart. That, to me, that's what makes the difference in terms of these conversations. So for that, I'm truly grateful. Have a great day, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you have suggestions on other show topics you'd like to see in the Healthcare Leadership Show, please let me know. Connect with Dr. Hasbala, and we will see you soon. Have a great day.
Bye, y'all. Take care.